So once we figure out the design in terms of the process, once we figure out the design, that design file then goes into the zirconia milling machine, and the zirconia milling machine produces a raw state of the zirconia, and then it goes through several finishing steps where it goes through essentially what amounts to an oven, and the gum tissue is added. And one thing that's cool in that consistency, or talking about that consistency, is that when you look at the file, or the file is the same, but if you look at the 3D prints of the prototypes and you compare that to the zirconia, it's a very accurate representation for the patient. And so when we go into that final delivery, there really isn't any tension on the behalf of the patient, because they know that they've seen other results from other patients, but also there isn't any tension or angst from the side of the clinician and the staff, because we know that it's going to fit right and it's going to feel right to the patient. Which that all helps add to that personal experience. When you have a situation that's sort of high tension, I've gone into plenty of deliveries where we were concerned about the results that we were going to have just because of the handcuffing of the old way.
Yeah, and one thing to add is, once those teeth, come in the office for delivery, you're having the input of a periodontist in Boca, a restorative dentist, a lab technician, a dental designer, and probably, lab manager. You have everyone coming together to make this product. So we're not just, sending this off to be printed. I mean, you're having a lot of care and attention that are going into this case, which is really nice.
Yeah, the efficiency is what brings that ability to have that extra care and attention, that extra customization. Because the general dentist speaks the same language as the designer, and the designer speaks the same language as the lab manager. I'm not talking about actual language, I'm saying in terms of instructions. Because they're all on the same page, they all know how to do their job, and therefore are more efficient at it and can spend more time being excellent at it.
Yeah, it's key. And when we're all on the same page and we're all under the same roof, if you ever have an issue like, you chipped a tooth or you need something fixed, it's going to get done very fast, because we can get any problem fixed, in a good schedule, because everyone working together.
I used to know the lab. Well, I know all of my employees pretty well, actually. But from a standpoint of, let's just take the Tampa doctor and how he knows the lab manager, it's definitely a lot more distant than it used to be. Mm-hmm. When I worked in Jacksonville, before I started Dunham One, I used to really intimately know everyone at the lab, because I used to have to go there to make sure that everything was appropriately communicated. And that's just not efficient, and it doesn't lead to the best results. It's not as personal. It's less of a studio and a little bit more of a inefficient factory, if you will.
Yeah, I wasn't around for all that sweat equity, but I can imagine before photogrammetry, intraoral scanning and everything, life was a lot harder.
It was just very different. It was a lot more reliant on the art, and the specific person you had do the case was a lot more. The quality of the work and the quality of the result was a lot more dependent on the person than it was the actual result was way more practitioner dependent. Now I would tell you that it's more dependent on the beliefs and the tools, as well as that personal. The team is still important. The team is what pulls it off. The team and the way to communicate with the patient is very important. But equally important is the way that you get the information, and the way that you customize, and the way that you treat every patient. And I always tell patients in a consult that the number one thing for us is to make sure that your big take home is the way that we used to do these really put a lot of blockades and tension in between our relationship. And it's not like we have to be your friend, but I also definitely don't want to be your enemy. And so with all that tension in the way, that got in the way of getting good results. And now that we've tried to eliminate that, that was the whole intention of this protocol. It wasn't to make it so that we only see a patient for an hour. It wasn't to only see them for 24 hours. It was to get better results, believe in the product that we're selling, and gain that sort of relationship and that friendship and that trust over time.